carcass.
You guys are getting paid?
Shout out to Voluntary Apothecary. Voluntary Apothecary is here to fulfill all of your beard care needs. They carry beard oil, mustache wax, beard butter, and more. I only use their beard care products, and I love them. You can check out their amazing products at voluntарyapothecary.com, and listeners of the show can take 10% off your order with code BEYOND at checkout. What's up, everybody? I'm Nick Irwin. This is Beyond the Ballot, and I'm back. I got to apologize for the lack of content. I have been fucking going through it. I know a lot of people everywhere have been going through it with this crazy cold weather and just the state of things in general with politics, all that stuff, and a whole lot of personal stuff. So I'm here suffering with you, but hey, we can do it. We can get through any of this shit that life is throwing at us, and don't let it get you down. Keep pushing forward. Grab onto me. Let's keep fucking going forward. Because if there's anything the world needs, it's good people to keep pushing for what's right through all the bullshit. Don't want to lose any of you. I love you all right? So let's get into it. Before we get started, I got to thank my Beyond the Ballot super supporters, Maxwell, Dave, Dennis, and Chuck at that $20 Patreon tier. Couldn't do it without you. You guys are amazing. Also, the show is produced by Dave, Dennis, and Chuck, as well as myself. Couldn't thank you enough for that. It's the best. So, all right, let's get into it. Pretty much today was just coming back and wanted to let you guys know that I am back, and I'm going to be getting some guests back on. You're going to be finding some more good guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. Got a homie from Texas that helped out with some of the relief down there, and it is doing a really good job. So we're going to have him on. We're going to talk about the Texas stuff. Got another buddy that's got a really cool gun grease product, a lubrication product, and is very knowledgeable about guns. He's a Gucci boy, though, so watch out, Pores. He's coming for you. You're going to get him on, and looking for a bunch of other good people. If you have any suggestions for guests, of course, always let me know that anywhere you find Beyond the Ballot or me, non-voting Nick, on any social media, and I'll do my best to get them on. I'd like to go after somebody that I mention a lot, Robert Evans from the Behind the Bastards podcast. He's awesome. I want to talk to him. But today, yeah, like I said, just kind of doing some updates, talking about things that are going on in the world. For me, just did a little traveling, had some shakeups in life, so that's why I haven't been here. I found that working out, physical activity added into my regular schedule, staying busy, has helped a lot. So I encourage anybody who's having any trouble with that to find a way to pick up some weights, do some cardio, anything like that. I'm down a bunch of pounds, getting stronger, and feeling really good. And I got to thank the homies Andrew Cosgrove and Josh Judd for inspiring me to really get back on that fitness track. And if you're having trouble getting any ideas together for how you want to work out, how to work out, nutrition, any of that, Josh Judd has a really awesome Facebook group called Unsane Gains. You got to check that out. It's been extremely helpful. I just posted my lifting routine that I'm going to be hitting starting in March in there. And if y'all want to join me, that'd be great. I'm calling it Muscle March. We're getting gains. We're feeling good, killing the inner bitch, and clearing out our minds, all right? So think about that. I also want to mention the homie Michael Smith, who's been on the show. Michael Smith has his company, Smith Pyrography. He's an incredibly talented artist doing a lot of great wood burning. He does a lot of really great liberty-oriented work, pop culture stuff, anything you could think of. He does custom stuff. So check out Smith Pyrography on Facebook, and I'll drop a link in the comments as well. Also, former guest of the show and very good friend, Dharma Iyer, author and co-curator, owner, all that stuff of the Road to Autonomy e-zine and podcast, along with Jeremy Hingeller, who's also been on the show. You got to check out Road to Autonomy. I'll drop the links down in there as well. So, stuff that's been going on in the world. Mostly since I've been away, there's been a icy hell rained down on the United States from the Arctic, and people in Texas are recovering from that. I'm sure you know that. It's been wild. And I'm kind of on the fence about it. I've been thinking about that quite a bit, at least the response, because it's nuts. All the Northerners are like, oh, hey, bro, first time. And Texas people aren't liking that too much. But I think the best takeaway from this is the fact that it's good to be prepared for just about anything. I know that's not something that happens in places like Texas or the South very much, but it's good to have, some space blankets, anything like that, because it doesn't have to get down to sub-zero single degree temperatures, anything like that, for you to be hurt, for you to need something to help you get through that. And so the best takeaway from this is preparedness. Preparedness, the whole prepping community has been in kind of the forefront in culture for, I don't know, at least a good 20 years now, since Y2K, when people started getting into prepping with Y2K. And so I don't really understand how people can be zero prepared, other than when I think about these are the same kind of people who still vote, that kind of thing. So yeah, it makes sense, but it's disappointing. And I don't really see a need to be mocking people. It's a good time to be helping people, which so many people have, whether they were there in Texas or far away, anything like that. But come on, guys, let's get prepared, because we need it for more than just these natural disasters. We need it for any political or economic disasters that may come our way. And that's another thing that's been going on since I've been gone, is Biden getting into office. I know I talked about that quite a bit leading up to Inauguration Day and whatnot, and I don't know if I talked about the supposed insurrection at the Capitol or not, but it's coming out that there's a whole lot of nonsense that people are pushing on that to make it seem worse than it was. Like they were going to go try to find Mike Pence and fucking hang him. Yeah, right. There were people in there taking selfies and doing all that stuff, and now we're seeing things, oh, they were armed and they were hurting people, and AOC feared for her life and she wasn't even there. It's just more nonsense, the usual nonsense from the mouthpieces in the media. Try to find things and look into it yourself to know what's going on, but I think it's blown way out of proportion. And I just recently saw an article about the cop who died at the Capitol riots, and supposedly he was bludgeoned to death by a fire extinguisher, and now the coroner report is saying he had a heart attack the day after, or that day went down and died the day after, something like that. So who fucking knows? We can't tell. Stay tight and share the info you find, and let's try to find the truth through all this. But like I said, we're going to be taking some calls from friends. I got a couple people in the waiting room. Talk with them for a couple minutes, see what's on their minds, and let's see who we can get started with here. Let's start out with the man, Jason Booth. What's up, brother?
Oh, not a much. What are you up to? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing all right.
How's the cold up there?
Cold's great up here. We're at almost 40 up here today, so it's feeling good.
It's 68 today. I'm in shorts.
Out there in California, you dirty hippies.
In California, Central. Yep.
Nice.
I'm wearing sandals too.
Of course. You guys woke up to almost a foot of sunshine
hippie
today. We
A
didn't
little
have
more than that. It's like a good 18 inches at least.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah, the sun's coming out here too. It's nice.
Yeah.
Snow's
I'm
melting.
rocking my
It's good stuff.
State of Jefferson patch today.
Well, I just did the intro, and I just hit on a couple current events. I don't know. I haven't podcasted in a couple weeks now, so I brought up the Capitol quote-unquote insurgency and Biden getting in, and of course the reign of ice and hell of Texas and the South. But yeah, well, I know you've still been podcasting with Anarchy Among Friends. I'm sure you guys covered the Capitol riots and what's been going on there. What are your takeaways from that, man?
Well, it's I like the idea of it, right? Like I don't like the reasons that they did it. It's a dumb reason, for a politician. Like I understand enough psychology and philosophy to make the case from their point of view as to why they did it. But from my point of view, it was, you're like trying to save a piece of shit from going down the toilet.
Right.
Right. It was dumb. It was dumb why they did it. I like that they did it though, because it shows the length that people are willing to go to now. Like we went from last year, like January 20th, 2020, right? There was like 22,000 armed people protesting in Virginia, right? Protesting for pro-gun rights, protesting against anti-gun bills, and every single gun bill passed except one, right? But then we had the lockdowns, and then we started having like anti-mask protests, right? And then anti-lockdown protests. And then we started seeing armed protesters inside the Capitol buildings, right? That's a huge escalation in terms of the signal, right? And then we had a bunch of guys that were arrested for allegedly going to kidnap Governor Whitmer, up there in Michigan. And then there was a mayor in Kansas that quit because he got threats. And there was a couple of the politicians that were on the kidnapping list or quit because they were receiving threats. Like that's a huge escalation in what, like 7 or 8 months, right?
Big.
And then we have the Capitol, what happened at the Capitol, right? And there's some argument as to who started it, whether the police let them in or whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is the visualization of people in the Senate chambers, in the House chambers, right? In Nancy Pelosi's office. These are protesters. There were more guns in a gun-free zone than there were there, but
sure,
that's besides the point. The symbolism that we went in less than a year, we went from a peaceful armed protest where they bragged about cleaning up after themselves. We went from that to people rushing the Capitol building,
right,
in less than a year.
Yeah, it's a quick slide, man.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
and what happens now is, my what really gets me, what really has my interest is what happens next. Right. And that all depends on what the government does. If the government really, really cracks down on these people and sets a dangerous precedent like they are with the domestic terrorism charges and all those bills that are being passed, nobody creates more anarchists and libertarians than the actions of the government.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So if the government cracks down and starts hammering people and starts becoming even more tyrannical and more authoritarian and cancel culture becomes greater and all this other stuff, it's only going to cause people to go against them even more.
And that seems.
But if the government does nothing, yeah. But if the government goes lenient on these people, it's like, well, all is forgiven and blah, 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 blah. Well, again, that also sets a precedent that other people are like, hey, they got off. We can get off too. Let's go do it again. Or let's go, storm some other capital.
Right.
So either way, what's coming next is really interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, I think we've already seen the government being very lenient on people who are, rioting and burning buildings and doing all that kind of stuff in the name of things that the government is okay with versus the Capitol, quote unquote riots and whatnot. It was just a selfie show. Like, I still can't believe they're trying to say there were people trying to hang Mike Pence and AOC was afraid for her life and wasn't even there and shit like that. Like, it's just nonsense.
It's like AOC wasn't even in the same building. Number one, like Mike Pence had already left or something like that. But it's become a huge virtual signal to the left, and to the right. It's either to become like, oh yeah, look at what these heroes did, these patriots, blah blah blah, blah. Or they're like, oh, they shouldn't have done that. It created a bad image, right? But those are the milquetoast Republicans that don't really matter. So, but politicians, Rahm Emanuel, like his famous line about never let a crisis go to waste, right? You saw the visualization of AOC, the picture of her cowering under her desk, and like she wasn't even in the same fucking building. Yeah,
it's like the setup pictures of her at the border fence crying, and it's just a fucking panel of chain link. I can't believe it.
Empty parking lot. Yeah,
It's ridiculous. Well, and the interesting thing with the Republicans in this whole thing is that they don't really have a party to land in anymore. It's pretty well fractured. At least that's what I'm seeing from a lot of people is they say, I don't feel like the party's here. It feels like it's not the same. And there was a split between actual Republicans and Trump Republicans and whatnot. So that's going to be interesting going forward because it seems like the Democrats and whatever you want to call it left is going to have quite a bit of influence, if not full control, for the next 4 years.
More than that, longer than that. The real difference in the way that they're handling this and the way that they handled this past summer is that the left will circle around and protect their extremists. Mm-hmm. Right, the quote unquote left. Mm-hmm. They'll circle out, they'll protect the extremists. Right, the BLM protesters, the NFAC, Antifa, all these other people. The left will largely defend the people that are protesting, looting, rioting, quote, on their behalf. Mm-hmm. Right, even though that, you know, like in Portland, Antifa smashed the Democrat office there after the inauguration, all that good stuff. Even though the Democrats will still defend them,
sure,
the right, the quote unquote right, the Republicans, the conservatives, they'll dismiss them.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, we're not part of them. They're extremists, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's one of the major faults of the conservative movement, the right, whatever you want to call it. But as for the fracture on the right, it's been happening for a long time. There's a lot of the Republican Party is really to the right of the left, right? Mm-hmm. There's very few Republicans that are moderate or to the right on the spectrum, mm-hmm. right? They're really in reality just left of center, mm-hmm. but to the right of the left, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So, and there's been like Ted Cruz is a really good example of that, you know,
Mr. Cancun,
anti-welfare, pro-wall, yeah, right, and then big government and Patriot Act and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think the next person who's going to gain traction on the right is going to be, my prediction is going to be a very far right. Like that's the swing we're going to take because the pendulum is swinging far left. And then I think we're going to swing back far right, whether it's after these 4 years or the next one. But that pendulum swing just keeps getting further and further if you put it up in front of like the political spectrum, you know?
Well, yeah, that's what it'll be, is because politics is largely reactionary, mm-hmm. right? And you can even see this all the way down into like the libertarian movement with the Mises Caucus versus the established libertarian movement, and go Mises Caucus take over 2022 in Reno. But like Trump's popularity came not as a result of his politics, mm-hmm. but because it was a reaction to the left. Right. The things that he said, the way that he said it, the way he didn't bow down to the political culture movement and to the SJW movement and to cancel culture. He said what people were thinking, right? And that's not necessarily new, right? I mean, people have been doing that on social media for a long time and getting canceled for it. Right. Yeah. But Trump comes out and says it and people are like, oh my God, he's so brave and blah, 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 because he wasn't a milquetoast Republican.
Yeah.
And you're right. The next great or the next big Republican leaders or Republican face will be, a person that is more right because it is a reaction to the left. It's the populist movement.
Yes.
Right. Trump said things that were popular among the perceived Republican base, and that's why he had that notoriety. That's why he had so much support. I mean, what was it this past election? Like 75 million votes for Trump or something like that,
and
right?
Supposedly,
which is more than
million
Obama got. Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah,
something like that. But either way, I mean, like 75 million people. That's like right at like 20%.
Yeah,
20% of the U.S. population voted for Trump, if you believe the numbers.
Sure, which is wild.
Which is a ridiculous amount of people.
Well, it's less than 50% that usually show up at all to vote, right?
Something like that, yeah.
It's nuts. Fucking A, man. Well, thanks for calling in, brother. I got 2 people in the waiting room. I'm gonna hop to the next caller.
All right, brother. Go have fun.
We'll do. Appreciate it.
All right. Love you.
See ya. Love you, bro.
Peace.
Boom, boom, boom. All right. Thanks to Jason Booth. Now we got my man Chuck coming on in here. Let's see if we can get in here. He's connecting to audio. There he is. What up, dog?
Hey, what's up, Nick?
Not much, man. We are on. We just had Jason Booth talking about the swing from left to right in U.S. politics and the Capitol riots and whatnot. But yeah, what's going on with you, man?
Just hanging out, doing my thing, living life.
I hear you. I started the episode talking about how rough shit's been recently. Got the kiddos. Nice. How rough shit's been recently. I know it's been rough for you too, and I appreciate you being here for me, man.
Oh, yeah, it's no problem.
Fucking A. Tell everybody what your page is that you made on Facebook, because there's been some really good insights, and if people are having a hard time, that page is a great place to go and read and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so I started a page called Rantings of a Recovering Anarchist. I basically go over what I've been through and the thoughts that I bring into my head to help me improve my life and my mental well-being.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of people who are into astrology and stuff like that with the classic, it's Mercury and Gatorade. That's why things are going so bad right now. And I don't really buy that stuff. But at the same time, I cannot believe the amount of people who are having, all kinds of troubles similar to what we're experiencing and more, all just packed into this time. I know it's after 2020, which was a shit show, but 2021's really showing up.
All right.
Did I lose you? You still there?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about astrology. Like it's a great excuse to explain what's going on, but really I don't know. I don't think that's what's causing it.
No, I don't think so. I think we're pretty well in control of our own destinies.
I'm sure it influences people.
Yeah,
I'm sure it influences people and their decisions.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's the direct cause.
From maybe thinking about it and reading into it and stuff, and they're getting that into their head. I think, as you and I are seeing, taking control of your actions and accountability for your actions, getting outside your own head really is doing good things for people in the healing process.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking A, man. Dude, well, you got anything else before I hop on to the next caller?
Yeah, if we want to talk about what was going on in Texas, where the rolling blackouts, the ice storms, and all of that.
Yeah, hit me with what you got.
Well, we've noticed that there is a big weakness with reliable or renewable energy like wind and solar. We see that if there's no more sun, we don't get any more energy there. And if the windmills freeze up, they can't do anything.
Sure.
So yeah, it's green energy, but we need to look into something that's reliable and green. And I think you know what I'm hinting at.
That nuclear power.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's been the case for a long time.
I've noticed the first thing that people retaliate with on that is, well, what about Chernobyl? Or what about Fukushima?
Sure.
Well, Chernobyl was built by the Russians during the Cold War. Mm-hmm. They weren't exactly the most reliable people. And if you look at the timeline of events from the moment shit went sideways at Chernobyl to the time it melted down, it was like 3 weeks. They had 3 weeks to fix it, and they just ignored the problem.
Right.
And Fukushima was built right on the coastline, and it got hit by a tsunami.
Yeah.
Let's not put our nuclear power plants on a fault line or anywhere that a natural disaster could destroy it.
You would think logic would dictate that. The other thing that I've heard about nuclear energy in the U.S. is that most of our plants and whatnot are at least 30 years old. The technology's that old. And what is it, regulations? Do you know whatever's blocking them from creating new, better technology to harness this?
Thank you.
I don't know if it's regulation per se, just the fact that that technology from 30 years ago is so reliable.
Yeah, that's something to look into more. Definitely not my area of expertise.
Yeah, if you wanted to, you could probably integrate like newer technology like PLCs or computer programs, but those have a tendency of glitching every once in a while.
Right.
And that's the last thing you want in a nuclear power plant is a computer glitch.
Sure.
Because then you got guys running around everywhere, scrambling with their heads cut off, wondering what the hell's going on. How do we fix this?
Right. No, that's something to look into. And I'm pretty sure a whole lot of the Libertarian Party pushes for that stuff, and I'm sure a ton of anarchists do because I see them. But we got to figure out what the next step is in getting the culture to accept that this is the way forward as well. I don't know, maybe if Elon Musk or somebody that could pump up Dogecoin and Bitcoin like he did got into it, it might help bring that about.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, brother. Well, I'm going to hop on to the next caller. I got my boy Adam Howard waiting in here. He's been in there for a bit.
Yep.
All right. Thanks,
man. Homie. Yeah, thank you. There he is.
Can you hear me?
There he is. What's up, my man?
Oh. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot. Just got done talking to Chuck Smitley on here, and before that, Jason Booth. Little intro. We've hit talks about the Capitol, quote-unquote, insurgency, cold weather in Texas, nuclear power, Joe Biden, anything you could think of.
Well, I mean, I guess I could say anything about a lot of those things. Obviously the so-called insurrection was not that. It's a just one of those things that's a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I mean, it's no different than any other stupid riot that we've had in the past year.
Right. Absolutely. How did you fare during this Arctic snap, man?
Well, I think we were lucky. We were on the outer edge of it, so we got some unexpectedly cold weather, but that was about it. Like, we didn't get snow or freeze, but it dropped down into the teens for a couple of nights. And
good.
But I have some family that was in Houston, and they experienced some power outages and no water. Like, they were at an Airbnb over there.
Sure.
And just no water, no power, and they're pretty rugged. They could handle that kind of stuff, but it's still unpleasant.
Yeah.
But it's the funniest thing that's come out of all of this to me is that that's a failing of the free market.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, that's not how the free market works, buddy.
Yeah, I love that when they throw that in there. It's the free market. It's like, first of all, you don't know what the free market is. Second of all, we have never had a free market here.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean, maybe you could, depending on how you define capitalism, you could say it's a failure of capitalism, but it's not a free market. And right. I don't know. I spend entirely too much time on social media, but I find that, like, the people that you interact with on social media, I can weed them out by saying, like, somebody that comes to me and says it's a failure of the free market, it's like, okay, like, there's not much I can say to this person to change their mind. Mm-hmm. and make them believe that we need liberty more than we have. Right. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, at that point, might be better just to drop it.
Time on it. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of my metric, is like, okay, this person's not acting in good faith.
Absolutely.
So it's not worth either to continue this conversation.
No, for sure. I mean, that's most political and economic talk online, to be honest. I'm okay with just having the echo chamber and figuring out ideas within the people that I know I can talk to. I'm over expanding for the most part. I want to reach out with the show, but that's about it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's my thing, is I'm in an echo chamber of anarchy right now, and I'm not upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Anarchy and Lord of the Rings, of course.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to make the two overlap. Obviously,
Doing a good job of it.
So if anybody's listening, check out Talking About Memes.
That's right.
Shameless plug.
Talking About Memes. Great fucking page. Hopefully the fastest growing Lord of the Rings Anarchy page out there. I don't know if there's more than one, but hopefully you're on top of that movement.
Yeah, I haven't come across one. I guess that's kind of why, a mutual friend, Chris Coffer, is the one that told me I should start the page.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea, because I was just shamelessly sharing and making Lord of the Rings Anarchy memes. And so why not? And I got a couple of guys that you've had on the show as editors, as well as yourself, Chuck Smitley and Maxwell Chi. Those are my guys. And
hell yeah.
Actually, they probably make better memes than I do, but
no, you guys are killing it on that page. I love it. And it makes sense too. Falls right into that, since Tolkien did consider himself an anarchist in the proper way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that wasn't really my thing, because you can make an argument that he wasn't, and there's all kind of bad things you could say about him, but that's not what I'm really focusing on. It's for the lulz and anarchy.
Yeah, and it gets there, man.
Voluntary society. Free.
That's fucking right, dude. Hell yeah. Well, what do you...
I think I should...
Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off there.
No. I'm good. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what else have you been looking at besides the stuff I mentioned before? Because I'm sure everybody's sick and tired of hearing about the cold weather and the fucking Capitol, quote-unquote, insurrection. What's been going on that you've seen that's interesting to look out for?
Well, I mean, that's what's in the news, so that's probably what we shouldn't be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. There's a lot of talk about Ted Cruz right now, and that's unfortunate, because he's very uninteresting.
You're not wrong,
but I don't know. I guess I didn't give a whole lot of thought to it, but those things that you mentioned are just kind of what's dominant, and I don't know. For some reason, I've had an influx of information about NASA because of the the Mars landing. Sorry, and that's one of those things that I'm interested in, because how odd it is. I don't really have an opinion on whether or not it's real or not, but there's a lot of people that think that it's not real.
Sure.
And I guess what bothers me about that whole concept is, like, what does anybody have to gain by making up going to Mars, or making up that the Earth is not round?
Sure. Yeah, it's
so. Well, I mean, it's not that
the money would be the thing that I would say they're going after if they're faking it. Like, although they wouldn't have to fake it as a government organization to get money from the government, I don't think. But it could be a good cover for
that's
funneling
my thought.
that.
That's my go-to is, like, yeah, the money. That makes sense. We could allot money and get more tax money because of we need to go to space and we got to go to Mars or whatever. But, like, you could make up something that's more believable.
Yeah.
If instead of just faking it.
Yeah. Or you just take it.
So I don't know.
Like they do mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, there's really, they don't have to have a pretense for it.
Sure.
So that's why it's silly to me to say that they made it up, but maybe they did make it up. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not going to affect a whole lot, even if they did.
Yeah, that's my whole thing on flat Earth and, NASA or whatever. It's like, why? What about my life is going to change if the Earth is flat, and if we are not going to Mars? Mm-hmm. Not anything. It's going to be. My life is not going to change at all.
Yeah, unless I get on some sort of rock hopper to go mine asteroids or something like that, which I would totally do. Then yeah, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, that'd be super awesome. I hope that happens.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Well, the things that have been kind of bugging me And because you don't see it too much, because of course the Biden is a media darling after Trump, but the things that Biden has been doing since he's gotten into office, all the executive orders and whatnot, excusing the genocide and internment of the Muslims in China, all kinds of shit like that. And nobody's talking about that. Whereas if it were Trump or just about anybody else, it would be, front page, he's racist, all this kind of stuff. And also Biden turning on everyone who voted for him. It's pretty clear, just consolidation of power towards big government again, with zero regard for the people, which is always the case, but definitely more so swamp monsters in this case, I think.
Well, yeah, that's another clear thing that's been in the news is Biden, but not like you would expect. Like, you're right. The Uyghur Muslim thing is very interesting. That I guess I read a piece on this today that was kind of trying to imply that he wasn't he was talking about American cultural norms and not Chinese cultural norms. So I didn't buy it. Like, if you're talking about concentration camps in a country and not making a big deal about it, then I think you're glossing over it.
Sure.
Like, if the obvious thing is to say that the concentration camps for the Uyghur Muslims and they're sterilizing the women over there and they're raping the women over there, and they're trying to weed out the Uyghurs, basically.
Right.
Like, if you're not making a big deal about that, that says a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going on. It's like, oh, okay, well, he didn't make a big deal about their culture. He just made a big deal about America's culture. It's like, well, that doesn't matter. He should have made a big deal about the concentration camps. That's what we should be focusing on.
Right. That and another thing about people in cages with, I want to say they were being forcefully sterilized in one way or another. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the Boogaloo Boys were in Georgia protesting an ICE facility where people are being held. And that, of course, is not making a whole lot of mainstream news. I know Ford Fisher from News to Share was there filming, and the comment section of his photos and then videos was just, full of bootlickers, of course, wanting to support ICE, and, of course, people bashing on the Boog Boys. So that's an interesting thing to keep an eye out for, is what the Boog Boys actually do. And it's good stuff for the majority of it.
Yeah, I saw what you're talking about, and it goes back to that whole narrative thing. Like, it's people feeding into what they're being led to believe. So you and I are pretty familiar about the Boog Boys, but like, normies aren't. They don't know about that kind of stuff. And so whatever the mainstream media tells them, what the corporate press is telling them to believe, they believe that. And then you go on, Facebook post or whatever, and you see, like, they're like, oh, the Boog Boys are not against ICE. It's like, well, of course they are. ICE is a government entity.
Yeah.
Like, that's not that hard.
Right. Yeah. If they're actually Boog Boys,
it's
they're
pretty
against
despicable. It's about, I mean, Boog Boys are not far right or far left. They're against the government.
Mm-hmm. Correct, man. Dope, dude. Well, I got,
but yeah,
sorry, I was going to say, I got Aaron Peterson hopping in the waiting room. I'm going to hop over to the next call, but I really appreciate you calling in, man. We'll have to do a full episode together sometime.
Yeah, man, that'd be great. It was good talking to you.
Hell yeah. Thanks again, brother.
Later on.
All right. See you.
You there?
There you are. There he is. What's up, man?
What's going on, dude?
Not a whole lot. Just got off a call in the middle of this episode with Adam Howard, talking about all kinds of good shit out there. Had Jason Booth, Chuck Smitley, and Adam Howard on so far. You're guest number 4. How's the hunt for a new excursion going, brother?
Not great, man.
Oh, fuck.
I'm supposed to go. Did I lose you?
No, you're here. I just got a delay.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go see one probably in about an hour. That's about an hour away, but I don't know. It has 250,000 miles. I'm kind of looking for a little close to 200.
Yeah.
I realize it's kind of like a unicorn, but
yep, with that.
That's where I was at before. So.
Hell yeah, man. Well, what have you? What kind of shit you been seeing in the world going down right now that you want to talk about on here?
You know what I've been seeing recently that's been bothering me is people having to wear, or people choosing to wear like 3 masks and then like a face shield, or it's not just one mask anymore. It's just some crazy bullshit, man. Like I do like a double and triple take. And I'm like, what is going on? You know?
It's wild.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say,
it's wild, man.
They're not satisfied until you have masks that literally touch people at 6 feet for the proper social distancing. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm just waiting for this to be over. Numbers in our state are going down dramatically over the past few weeks, so hopefully we could get rid of some of this shit. So we'll see.
Yep.
But
I think there was a fee.
That's about it, man.
Well, it's interesting because I haven't brought that subject up yet, and there's a whole lot of stuff that is going on with that. Like if we're looking at the vaccine, they're treating the vaccine like they do the flu vaccine, right? Where they take a guess at what strain they want to try to prevent with it, and then there's 7, 8 more, however more that they're reporting now, and the vaccine is only supposedly effective against one. So how many fucking vaccines are people going to get before they're, tired of getting poked with that needle and realize there's nothing they can do about it? And then also sick and tired of the lockdowns and the pandemic in general. And I think it was the Foundation for Economic Education or something like that put out a great article saying pandemics are over when the people decide that they're over, and when people just ignore what's going on and go back to work and let the virus burn itself out.
Right, man. Like I've been working this whole time, I think I've had it at least twice.
Dang.
Whatever it is. My whole family's had it, it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
For me at least. It was bad for my wife's grandparents, but they're much older, of course. So nothing's really changed for me out here though. Like we have a close knit family network, and like I said, we've all had it, and I homeschool my kids, so we haven't worried about school or any of that shit. And life hasn't been really different for me.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you.
All this coronavirus shit.
I had some shutdowns for around the area here in Washington that affected me for a bit, but not really, because I just live way far out and don't really go many places anyways. It's all kind of falling apart, the narrative of how scary it is, and people are realizing, especially these dumbass governors that shut everything down, are realizing, oh fuck, we got to reopen because the economy's crashing.
Yeah. Yep. It's around here, nothing's really closed. I mean, they have limited bar activity. They've closed bars off at 10 or 11 o'clock, but that was only for a few weeks. They have spaced out restaurants, but nothing really too harsh or weird.
Sure. Yeah. It's all going back to normal at a certain pace, as normal as it's going to be. I'm interested to see how hard they keep pushing the quote unquote new normal or the great reset or anything like that, because it seems like people are starting to wise up to what's going on, even some people who were pretty far into the bullshit before.
Yeah, I'm looking at this whole thing as like it just created more people like you and me, man, because there were people on the fringe and they saw all this draconian shit that our governors have done and the state has done. And they're like, you know what, fuck this. Like I was on the fringe and now I'm not blind to it anymore.
Yep.
Like even people at my work, I work with a bunch of conservative type people. And, you know, I use this as an opportunity to kind of talk to them about the state and its grip on all of us. And they've totally changed their direction and wised up.
Good.
So I look at this as like an opportunity to help people get to where they need to be.
That's
or
right.
Where
Man.
they should be, hopefully. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah. No,
Yeah.
That's what we should all be doing. That's great. And Jason Booth, when he was on, mentioned something similar to that a little bit earlier about these hard swings from left to right and whatnot with the way, you know, federal government and whatnot is working and the fracturing of the Republican Party after this last election. And it's pushing more people out. And so we need to be there with open arms to show them the path that we figure is the morally correct path.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah.
I try.
That's actually. So what you been up to, Matt?
Oh man, just, you know, slogging my way through life, working out a lot, just trying to keep the head clear, trying to get motivation to come back to podcasting. This episode's been a really nice welcome back, talking to all my friends, all you guys. It's been good. I've just been keeping my head down mostly, though. Planning on maybe making a move here soon, or at least a visit. Go see the buddy Robert Rex in Georgia again. Georgia kind of snagged me a little bit. I like it down there, but we'll see how it is when it's really humid.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you're ever up this way, man, stop on by and we'll get in the hot tub.
Hell yeah, man. You know I will. Sounds like a plan. Let's call her a call then, buddy. I'll wrap up the show.
All right, bud. We'll see you next time.
All right. Take care. Thanks for coming on, man. All right, friends. We had a bunch of good people on right now. It's been fantastic. Yeah, it looks like that's it for the waiting room. Sorry if you were on the list and you missed it, but you're listening to the show. I'll try to get you on the next time we have one of these. Anybody listening, if you're interested and you ever want to do one of these call-in episodes, if you like this and you want to hop on and talk to me, I'd be happy to have you on. Usually I announce this stuff on the Beyond the Ballot Facebook page. I'm going to try to get better about hitting Twitter and Instagram and, of course, places like Float, Minds, MeWe, all that stuff, and posting everything on there. It's been really nice to talk to everybody. You get a little motivation to come back, and I hope you all keep listening. I appreciate your continued listening. Stay safe out there, everybody. Help each other out with everything that's going on. You know, natural disasters, government coming after you, mental health, all that stuff. I love you guys, love each other, and I'll see you next time.
Professional anarchists.
You guys are getting paid?